As Egypt's main opposition comes under a fresh government attack, is it becoming more radicalized? Will the Muslim Brotherhood ever be allowed a full role in the political system? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm Jane Dutton. Egyptian authorities have arrested 18 members of the country's largest opposition group for holding an unauthorized meeting. It's the latest in a series of crackdowns which have seen more than 500 members of the Muslim Brotherhood detained in recent months. Although banned for half a century, the Brotherhood remains Egypt's main opposition group and a constant irritant to President Hosni Mubarak. Standing as independents, members gained a fifth of the seats in parliament at the last elections 2 years ago. Since then, security forces have arrested hundreds of its members, and several are also on trial in a military court. The Muslim Brotherhood aims to establish an Islamic state in Egypt. It's been banned since 1954 after the government accused it of attempting to assassinate President Jamal Abdel Nasser. In 1981, President Sadat cracked down on opposition forces, including the Brotherhood, for opposing his peace treaty with Israel. But that failed to stop the group. In 1987, it won 35 parliamentary seats, and the government tried to make it harder for the Brotherhood to field candidates. In 2005, Brotherhood candidates won 88 seats in parliament out of a possible 454. They're now the country's largest opposition bloc. Well, we're joined by guests in Cairo by Majed Reda Boutros, member of the Central Committee of the ruling National Democratic Party. Mohammed Al-Sayed Said, he's Deputy Director of the Al-Ahran Centre for Political and Strategic Studies. And in London by KAMAL HELBAWI, former Muslim Brotherhood spokesperson. Mr. Boutros, is this a purge of the Muslim Brotherhood that we're seeing?
What we can see is a prohibited political group that is prohibited by the constitution, breaking the law, and the government cannot afford to violate the constitution, cannot afford to violate or break the law. So it's very natural that those crackdowns on Muslim Brotherhood is expected anyway.
So is it a purge? Are you trying to get rid of them?
Well, we are trying to limit their violations of the law. This is a violation of the law. We're trying to limit those violations. Nothing more, nothing less.
What is the government ultimately trying to achieve from this? You say you're trying to stop them from illegal activities, but what is your ultimate long-term gain?
Well, we are trying to convert them into a secular opposition like any other opposition. We welcome opposition. I mean, any sound political regime depends on very effective opponents. So we have very weak secular parties. So we're trying to enforce and reinforce the political system in Egypt by improving the number and effectiveness of secular groups. Now, we are faced by a group that's illegal by the Constitution, as I said earlier, Constitution and law. So we're trying to pressure it to convert into a secular one, to reveal its agenda, political agenda. We don't have any political agenda for this religious-based group.
Okay, you say, excuse me interrupting, that you're looking for effective opponents. But Mr. Said, I mean, yes, surely with the support that the Muslim Brotherhood has, that's quite effective.
Well, certainly the Muslim Brotherhood commands a great deal of support. It has always had, and I think it will always have. I do believe that the eradicationist trend inside the ruling party and the ruling regime will and do actually try to finish off a phenomenon that is so deeply seated in our society, and a phenomenon or a political force that cannot simply be eliminated by force and by just the language of jail sentences and denial I do believe that they are going to stay, and the only way to if you use the term just mentioned right now, secularize them, it's only through dialogue and through political experience. And I do believe that integrating Muslim Brotherhood in our society is an essential ingredient in democratizing the whole political system. And I do believe as well that without integrating Muslim brothers, the continued and periodic crackdown and massive arrests of Muslim Brotherhood will only increase turmoil in our political and social life. And I do believe that without eventually stimulating the Muslim Brotherhood in a democratic system, the Islamist trend in our society will continue to radicalize, eventually coming to storm the political system in the way that we have seen in the case of Iran. Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt is much closer to the Justice and Development Party in Turkey than the experience of, say, the Revolutionary Guard in Iran, and that is in itself quite a blessing. On the other hand, Muslim Brotherhood is seemingly the most moderate, the most sophisticated, and the most willing actually to accommodate itself to the ideals of a democratic society in comparison with others. And I'm talking basically about the jihad movement, about the Islamic Jama'ah, and about the Salafiyah movement is focused almost exclusively on bringing our society back to Middle Age practices.
Okay, Dr. HELBAWI, the 18 men who have been arrested are accused of belonging to a banned organization and possession of publications calling for the overthrow of the state. Is the Muslim Brotherhood trying to do just that, overthrow the state?
I do not think that the Muslim Brotherhood has any intention or in their programs, which I am a member since 1952, to overthrow any government at all, or to do extremely violent with any of these governments. They just need democratic way of life. And if Mr. Majid saying that they are prohibited, I would tell him by the Constitution. The Constitution did not prohibit the Muslim Brotherhood, but it was talking about religious groups, and this is not religious, it is Islamic, which means the religion of the whole or most of the 90% or over of the country. That is one point. The second point, the Muslim Brotherhood are the only party now in Egypt that is producing very good citizens who are Muslims and willing to develop their country and bring freedom and respect human rights. They are trying. But if Mr. Majid is saying that the government or the ruling party is trying to secularize the Muslim Brotherhood, he is dreaming, of course, and this is not a democratic way of life. You have Christian parties in Germany. No other party said that we are trying to secularize them. They are Christian Democratic Party in Germany. So the Muslim Brothers, as long as they are not violating the law or going beyond the Constitution, they should be treated like any other member or any other Egyptian citizen in Egypt.
Okay, Dr. Botros, what is your response to all that?
Sorry?
What is Dr. Botros' response to all that?
My response is very simple and straightforward. We're talking about theocratic state. Theocratic states have all proved to be catastrophic in all ages, Middle Ages and nowadays. So when my colleague was trying to crack an example about Germany, Germany is a secular state. Now, they are not based on a religious background. It's just the name. But if he studies the political system in Germany, it's purely secular. It's not religious by any means. It's just the name. Regarding the violent history of the Muslim Brotherhood, even the regime is trying to limit their violent activities. And one of the symptoms of this was the military parade in one of the universities in Egypt. And the government was accused of being so lenient with this red line. They are crossing a red line. They are training militias. This is very scary for the majority of people in here. The government was reluctant to respond to this violent move until all the factions of the society in Egypt pressured the government, stating that you are so lenient with such a trend. They are crossing the red line. You have to have a heavy hand on them. So we cannot just mix what's happening in Europe now, which is purely secular, with what they are trying to do in here. I mean, the press releases of some of them, of some of the leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, scare not only the minority by, like, I'm just giving an example of such press releases, like imposing special taxes on Christians. This is called jizya. Jizya in the Middle Ages was imposed on minorities who are not allowed to join the military just for protection. Now we are going to the Middle Ages. I mean, we are in the 21st century. I mean, all the people worldwide are trying to secularize themselves. Globalization trends are dominating, and now we are getting back. We're getting more backward every time, they say. I mean, this is very scary. I mean, many people of the minorities were so scared about this hint, and they tried to invest abroad.
Mr. Said, I mean, is this as scary as Dr. Boutros is making it out to be? And if the Muslim Brotherhood is prepared to play by the political rules as they say they are, shouldn't they rather be engaged?
Well, I think the argument on secularizing the Muslim Brotherhood is essentially true. What we need is to, what is meant here by secularization is the need to urge all political parties to present political ideas, social ideas, civic ideas, and so on. But we do have a problem here, you know, not only in Egypt, in so many other societies, we do have people who are basically inspired by religion. And if we just simply come to oppress this whole sector of society, the destiny of the whole society will be very much at stake. Just to give an example, the United States itself, the most advanced of all societies, has almost 70 million people identifying themselves basically as Christians, not as Americans and not in any other term. And those belong and vote for something called the Christian Coalition. The Congress itself is formed, has been the instrument of religiously inspired political groupings. I do believe that this has not really hurt very much until this point the democratic system in the United States. If the government, if the regime actually pushes its way to democracy, it can certainly form adequate support to defend democracy in case that any political faction or party or movement has come to challenge it.
Okay,
and
on
in
that
the case
note,
of the United States, we do have,
we're going to be
as I said,
taking a short break, and when we come back, we'll discuss the changing status of the Muslim Brotherhood in the world. Is it a moderate political group? Stay with us.